time to call your lawyer.
Once again, time to get a hold of Bruce L. Shiner, attorney for the injured, to see what he thinks about today's Ask the Lawyer question. And this one is difficult. It was difficult to read. It was difficult to talk about. I'm sure it'll be difficult to answer. By that I mean sad. But we got to do what we got to do. Let me just quickly remind you that if you ever have a question for the Ask the Lawyer segments on this show, then you can always send it to us through our website, KixCountry929.com. We always respect everybody's confidentiality and never reveal names or personal information. Obviously, you never hear anything like that. Please also understand that the legal opinions you're going to hear in the next minute or two should not be taken as specific legal advice in your situation, because everybody's situation is different. That's why it's so important to protect your rights by sitting down with an attorney and talking things over before you make any statements or sign anything. Many attorneys offer a free consultation, which Bruce L. Shiner does. So take advantage of that. Let's see what he thinks about today's legal brain teaser, sad as and tragic as it might be. Please make welcome attorney for the injured, Bruce L. Shiner. Good morning, Bruce. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's nice to see we're getting a little bit of fall weather, so it feels a lot better.
Oh, I'm telling you, I have been just waiting for drier air to settle in. It's the humidity more than it's the temperature, I tell you, and it feels better. You're right. I want to thank you for spending some time with us this morning, and I want to brace you a little bit because we've been talking about this off and on all morning about how this is such a tragic situation. We have this question that we want to present to you.
I'm ready to talk about it.
Okay, here we go. 6 months ago, my parents were driving home from a friend's wedding when they were struck head-on by a drunk driver. Both of my parents were killed instantly. My brother and I were in the car following behind and witnessed the accident. The at-fault driver only suffered a concussion, broken arm, and bruised ribs in the accident. He was cited for driving while intoxicated and has admitted to texting while driving. While no amount of money could bring our parents back, we feel that this driver should pay for the loss of our parents. Not sure if this is important. My brother is 17, I just turned 22, and we want to move on with our lives. Someone told me that the insurance only covers injuries, but that just doesn't seem right. Can we hire a lawyer? Like I said, I'm sure that you can feel for these people a degree of empathy. I know you've dealt with situations like this before, but boy, that sure is a tragic sounding story.
It is horrific.
So where do you begin? Can he hire a lawyer? I'm rather positive I know the answer, but why don't you tell us what you think you would do first here?
Okay, well, of course you could hire a lawyer. The question is, can they make a recovery?
Yes.
And in Florida, we have what's called the wrongful death statute. And the wrongful death statute tells us who is allowed to make a recovery. They're called survivors. And a survivor in a wrongful death action is either and or the surviving spouse, which both parents were killed. So, of course, there's no surviving spouse. But also it applies to children under 25 are called survivors.
Okay, which both of these are. Okay.
17-year-old and 22-year-old brothers are able to make a recovery for the pain and suffering and losses they sustained as a result of this horribly negligent drunk texting driver that killed their parents.
Let me just kind of interject. So I want to make sure I understand the situation. According to the law, if you're under 25, then the pain and suffering due to the loss of your parents in this case, that's something that you can recover for. But once you hit 25, then you can't?
That is correct.
Interesting. Okay.
Because the person was drunk, they're entitled to claim for punitive damage, which is damages to punish the person over and above the normal compensatory damages.
If I remember correctly, isn't that 3 times?
Well, there's some talk about 3 times, but it's not that cut and dry.
Okay.
Also, it's a double whammy because there are cases that say if a negligent driver is texting when he causes an accident, the victim can also claim for punitive damages. So you have a case with a drunk driver that's texting, which, is like a double whammy or, horrible situation.
He just could not be more in the wrong, it would seem.
Exactly. They talk about the at-fault drivers insurance coverage. And just to be complete, the victims, the two boys, may be entitled to uninsured motorist coverage over and above any other liability coverage.
I see, from their policy.
From their policy or whatever policies they're entitled to recover against.
Okay, all right. Obviously, these kinds of questions that I'm asking are only the tip of the iceberg, and these two young men are going to have a lot more questions. That's why it needs to be put in front of a professional right away.
Exactly.
And I would think being 17 and 22, here's the key thing that stuck out in the question to me. We want to move on with our lives, which I can totally understand. You've got to have somebody help you move on in this case.
They definitely need a experienced personal injury lawyer.
Bruce, I kind of feel bad putting this on your plate this morning because it's a bit of a downer, as we say, but it's an important issue that a lot of people probably can learn from. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
And I look forward to talking to you next week.
I do as well, Todd.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for attorney for the injured, Bruce L. Shiner. And please know that he's happy to help you consult with you on your legal situation for free. Call him at his Port Charlotte office, 941-743-7777. 743-7777. Protect yourself and your interests by calling Bruce L. Shiner today. Tell him that Todd Matthews sent you from Kicks Country 92.9.
Buffalo Wings and Rings, located in